You're live! Nothing's worse than a foul-mouthed, salty pickle. You know what I'm saying, Dean?
Oh, every time, Mr. Pickle.
Everything I say is salty, but some of it's filthy. You like it filthy, Dean?
The filthier, the dirtier, the bumpier, the better.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Easy. You're talking to a pickle. That thing's like, not even a year old, you
That's
dirty
why,
person.
but the little baby pickle's the one who brought the little baby Dill brought it up.
You old dirty.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the Jim and Dean Show, where we have no adult supervision whatsoever. Unlike Monday Madness, when we have Jesse with us, or when I'm on Funnel Fridays with Russell, and when people are watching what's going on, pretty much the Jim and Dean Show is our own personal therapy for about 30, 40, or even 60 minutes. So today,
and we both need it so badly.
Man, what a day I've had. What a week. What a year, Dino. 2020. It's going to go down.
I'm on the couch. Tell me about it.
2020 is going to go down in the annals of history as one of the
longest 5 years.
The longest 5 years of my life. And it just keeps coming. It doesn't want to give it up. It's got Mr. Pickles
in a chokehold. It's like the last pickle at the bottom of the jar, and some ham-fisted slow kid is trying to get me out of there and just fishing around and just jabbing me in the eye and jabbing me in the eye and jabbing me in the eye. Stop it, kid!
That's 2020.
I know. It's one long poke in the eye.
With a sharp stick. So I mean, if y'all feel
look at the time it's missing, which makes it more annoying.
But it hadn't been a total loss. And that's the one thing I would like, and we're going to actually talk about copy here in a second, but I see we got a few dozen people here with us, and they're leaving quickly. It's like, don't. Yeah, they're going down. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a say hello. Just say howdy. And what everybody wants to talk about why 2020 is like a horror film, but Dean, let's take a different tack. Work with me for a second, everybody. I want you in the comments to list this is 100% serious right now. List something positive that happened for you this year. It's easy to focus on all the nonsense. Dean and I had fun talking about politics and ripping on everybody, but what's something good that happened to you this year? And so, can I share one?
Yeah, before you do, I want to say my wife is great. My wife has to settle me down sometimes.
Yeah.
And both of our wives have to do
True.
it. They've got a tough job. So she just posted something on Instagram of in the scene in Braveheart, where Braveheart and Robert the Bruce are shaking hands like this, and the caption is "Unite the clans."
There you go.
And I said, "That is beautiful."
That's what happen. It could happen. You and I have united. United. So anyway,
something what happened?
Yeah, something. I mean, share. I'm dead serious. In the comments, share something cool that happened this year. Something cool that happened this year that I feel really, 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 really good about and really proud of. That has. I mean, I feel proud. Is the I got to get my angle right. But the Copywriting Secrets book sold $1 million worth this year, and in the funnel and stuff. That was pretty cool. That was neat. I'm very grateful to everybody who picked up their free copy at funnel at copies. I just screwed it up. Everyone who picked up their copy at copywritingsecrets.com. So I think that's awesome. And if we all focused on what went well this year, A, we'd be a lot happier, and B, we would set ourselves up to receive a better year next year. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Okay. We're all people. We're all people. We have the same needs, the same desires, the same challenges. We're in this together.
I agree. So
here's some cool things. Wojtek says, my oldest turned 7, my middle turned 5, and the youngest turned 2. Those are great ages, man. They still love you then. They still think you're amazing. You're like a superhero.
I know you're to them, you're in the land of the giants.
Yeah, you're amazing. And I can tell you in 10 years, the 7-year-old will think you're a total dork. The 15-year-old will think you're a total dork, and the 12-year-old will still love you. That will be that will be your saving grace.
But I have to say, Jim, my kid never felt that way. 21 years old now, and it wasn't like that at all. Every stage, even dropping her off at high school, 17 years old, get out of the car and hug and kiss. We drive her to school every day. My wife, typically me, would drive her to school, not embarrassed. Cool. It wasn't get away from me. It was hugs and kisses. I love you, Dad. And it was just like, man, wow. I could die a happy man.
You lead a charmed life. Patty tried out retirement this year after 50 years of 9 to 5. There you go. That's cool. This was a good year to retire. You were going to stay home anyway.
But Justin said to watch the news every day.
Yeah. Well, okay. But that's something that I decided that I got into a bad habit this year of watching about 2 hours worth of news every day. I'm cutting that out.
Yeah.
I'm cutting it out. Not going to do it. I'm going to trade that 2 hours for creating my own gym university curriculum. I'm planning out all the books I'm going to read, all the stuff I'm going to absorb. I'm putting filters on my own mind. Everybody else wants to put filters on me. I'll put filters on my own stuff. So Justin, this is cool. 2020 is like a halftime in a football game where we get to reevaluate our lives on what's really important to us. My favorite thing is getting to interact with so many cool people like you guys. Oh, and Russell. So us and Russell in a new virtual world. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Sarah said, I finally got traction on launching my courses and offers. I took courses I meant to do it for a few years. This year, I finally got the focus to do it and got my husband, who worked at Disney for 25 years, to help me build it. So excited. Wow. That's awesome. Congrats, Sarah.
Yeah, congrats.
Christopher, our buddy Christopher Voss. I've never been closer to my wife than ever. 2020 with the pandemic and family medical scares has made our family draw mega closer and make it together on many, many fronts. Feel so grateful for this. That's awesome.
Can I ask a question? Voss is not a very common name. And I used to work with a comic named Rich Voss from New York and New Jersey. Are you anyway related to Rich Voss, Christopher?
He might be, and he would know. Good giver, good receiver. There you go. Sonny says, I'm using the strategies I learned from ClickFunnels. Jim, Dean, Russell, and Steve brought a test client 34,000 in sales in October. Heck yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Nice work, Sonny. Good job. Let's see. Lisa says, I successfully pulled off a surprise social distance parade and celebration of my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. People are still talking about it. My parents are still beaming. That is amazing, Lisa. That's awesome. See, that's the kind of stuff that we should. Peter says, I was introduced to Mr. Pickles. This is the kind of stuff that we need to remember from this. Not remember that it was just a complete.
Yeah. It's
I almost said, show, show, but I didn't. But that's when we look back on this, when Dean, when you and I are sitting around, sitting 20 years from now, when we're rocking on the virtual porch and we're talking about stuff, the things we won't talk about is the stuff that sucked. We'll talk about how we came out of the stuff that sucked. You know what I mean? It's
well, typically, how do you make lemonade out of the lemons, right?
Well, first you want to take a piece of paper and you want to get yourself a cut right there on the web of your thumb and your index finger, and then squeeze with that hand. That's how you make lemonade.
You're looking at the downside, John. you just took it back to where we were away from.
Oh.
And I know what that feels like because I had a little cut on my finger last week and I was peeling an orange and it was like, oh man.
There you go. There you go.
Citrus burn.
Yeah, citrus burn. It just burns, but it's so exquisite. Just found you guys this year, as well as Funnel Scripts, Traffic Secret Scripts, and Jim Edwards Method. Also got down to my best weight and maintained it. Good for you, Donna.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Go, Donna. Donna's got a leg up.
That's right. Well, you know, the thing is, a lot of people are struggling with their weight this year, sitting around doing putting on the COVID 15. Remember college, the freshman 15? They're putting on the COVID 50. So good for you, Donna. That's awesome. Yeah. Wojtek says, I stopped watching news after the last Polish election. They dragged me back, but I will not give up. Nice. Oh, and Lisa says, and I bought your Copywriting Secrets book. That's awesome. That's almost as cool as the virtual parade.
She's one of those people responsible for that little plaque on your wall.
That's not little. It's pretty big. But it's not as big as the one for 10 million, but it's nice size.
You're starting to sound like someone we know.
That's a wallet. It's wallet size. Who?
Well, I had this many numbers and I did this and I did that and I stopped.
I didn't say it like that.
It's not small. It's big. That's a big thing.
Who are you ripping on?
We have perception. There's depth perception. So, you know, it's like the horizon line here. So that's what
you want to see how big it really is?
Now
okay, hang on, Dean. I'll stand up. I can't hear you now.
It's huge. I never would have thought of it. It's bigger than your head.
Yeah, you're talking smack. I can't hear you. What?
Nothing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I can watch a recording.
You know what? Plans.
The only thing that bugs me is this. This is the week we would have been on the gym boat.
I know.
This is the week.
Yeah.
You know. So next year, definitely, man. Next year, definitely. They'll have it sorted out. Hey, so let's talk about like some copy related stuff since we've been talking about nothing related to copy for the last 12 minutes. But I do want to recognize Justin, who said, I love the audiobook style of Copywriting Secrets. Thank you, Justin. And Irina says, I changed my career and found what I love to do and what helps others. That's awesome. Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question and you give your best answer. And then you can ask me a question to try and put me on the spot. And let's mess with each other for a while and see if we can.
So we're still staying away from copywriting.
Yeah. Hang on one second. Okay. Please do not share. Don't share links. That's not cool. I mean, that's actually kind of rude.
Profit.
So yeah, please don't share links. Because that's a way to get booted and banned. So Susan, please delete that. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you a question, then you're going to ask me a question. We're going to try and stump each other, but not to the point where it's like, you know, what's the capital of Rhode Island, which I don't remember off the top of my head.
Providence.
But if you... Okay. So... if somebody wanted to get really good at sales copy in the next 12 months, because this year is wrapping up. Thank you, Jesus. What is your number one piece of advice on how they could get better at sales copy and use it to build their business?
Read winning sales letters.
Okay.
Read sales letters.
Is that a book?
Sales.
I'm like, I've never read winning sales letters. Was it?
No, I mean, go online and do whatever people are interested in, whatever, you know, if you're interested in finances or health or fitness or supplements or whatever it is, look at the things that get you to buy online and read the copy or watch the videos or listen to the words that someone is talking to you about. And when you do that, if those were the words that got you to click and buy, go back and listen or read that copy again and figure out and say to yourself, what made me click that button? What kept me interested from the first line, from the first thing I saw, a headline or a grabber, and kept me reading all the way through? And when you do that, you'll start to recognize a pattern. You'll start to recognize what's called certain triggers in copy. And that's how you get good at copy. And there's one more step you can take too. If you're really interested, take that piece of copy or have that video transcribed, read it, look at it.
I do that a lot, by the way. If I see a video that I like, you can use, by the way, you can use otter.ai to get it transcribed for free. So.
Right. You can. And you can also go to Fiverr and have somebody transcribe it for you as well, like a webinar or a long video or a video sales letter. And now, not only after you do that, if you're really somebody who cares about copy and you want to get really good at messaging for your own product, services, and offers, then get a legal pad and copy by hand what you just transcribed or the sales letter that you see online, and write it, because then it will start to sink in. There's no magic to it. There's no magic to it. It's simply focusing and taking action and implementing.
So if I could summarize why that's important, it would be to look at patterns that are proven to work. And you know they're proven to work because they got you to spend money. And then study them and internalize them, and even internalize them on a visceral level by literally typing them out or writing them out so that you process it through your body to lock it in.
Correct. Absolutely.
And somebody asked, it's otter.ai, not otter.com. Otter.com is something, I don't even know what, I wouldn't even go there. God knows what you'll see. Go to otter.ai. Okay, you got a question for me?
Yes. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system.
No, that's a different. That's
60 seconds.
That's a different one. Yeah, that's emergency. This is the cusp beep. Okay, go ahead. Get ahead.
Do I have one? Let me see. I don't even know if I have one for you. So, I'm going to throw the same question back at you, Jim.
Bismarck. Oh, you can ask me the capital of North Dakota.
I think this is important because it's not just my way, and I don't want people just to hear my answer, but I think that's a terrific question. If you wanted to get good at copywriting, if you wanted to get good at messaging and selling and persuasion, what's the number one thing that you would do?
The number one thing that I would do would be to start doing it. Now, that's not a cop-out. That's honest to God, because there's a difference between knowing about something and know how. So if you do what Dean told you to do, that's a great way to inculcate it into yourself. And that's exactly what I did back in the day. I mean, I would read every sales, or I'd send off for everybody's free report. And I would just read these things like they were magazines. I would study these language patterns. I've always been fascinated by it. But then I always tried to take it one step further to say, okay, now that I've studied this, how can I adapt it to what I'm doing? That's like the next step. And so you've also got to understand that the only thing that really matters with copywriting and selling is results. It's not your ego. It's not your creativity. It's not anything other than results. And results are whether somebody will read your copy, listen to your message, watch your video, or look at your ad and click, buy, try, subscribe, or sign up. That's it. And so you've got to put these causes in motion. And most people, their ego is so attached to it, their self-worth is attached to it, that they're scared to try. Or if they do try, it's like they're worried about a hot stove that's 50 feet away, and they're like, oh, that's kind of hot, it might get burnt. No, you're not even anywhere near the damn stove. You need to just put it out there and see what happens, because the ultimate way that you learn is by learning about it, doing it, and then seeing people's reactions. But most people will run one ad and it doesn't work. Well, it chances are, if you run one ad, it ain't going to work. You got to run 10, 15, 20, 30 to see which one's really going to work, especially when you're first getting started. Now, when you get further on down the line, like us, then you'll write one ad, think that it's a big winner, not make any other more, run it. It totally bombs and you feel like a complete horse. And then you're like, oh, dang, I guess I should go write like 4 or 5 or 10 ads and start testing. Because whenever you really think you've got this nailed is when life's going to come along and kick you square in the cojones with a steel-toed boot. It's not what you think. It's what the people who can buy, try, sign up, and subscribe think that matters. And the only way you're ever going to find out what they think is by putting something in front of enough people to see whether it works or not, and then learn and adapt and try it again. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's it. You got to take the knowledge and put it into action.
Agreed. Well said. Well articulated.
Well, thank you, Dean. Every once in a while, I'm caffeinated in just the right way in the afternoon, and I'm somewhat coherent.
Man, by the ounce.
Well, I've had 2 of these today.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
it's the Hawaiian shirt. That kind of helps keep the dosage even.
Well, if you can't be on the cruise, you may as well bring the cruise to you, right?
Exactly.
On land.
So, okay. So then my next question to you is, what was the biggest lesson you've ever learned in your career of selling and copywriting? What's the single biggest lesson that stands out to you?
Wow. Oh, I would have to, I don't know if it has to do with...
it can be anything. Don't overthink it.
All right. So the first thing that came to mind is that not all clients are great clients. I had to fire a client this year, and it's not easy. I mean, because the bait is the paycheck is great, but it's never worth. For me, it would have meant giving up my value system and ethics to create something. And I was halfway into this thing, and I just had to say, maybe I'm not I don't think I'm the right person. And the client fought me on it and said, no, I want you. And I said, I don't think so. Here's why. I just, I couldn't do it. And we finally, we parted ways. So, so the biggest lesson is, and I think this was a long time coming, don't ever compromise who you are for a paycheck, for any kind of reward down the road that might seem to benefit you in the short term, because in the long term, when people show you who they are, believe them.
That's good. That's good. Can I share a little story that illustrates that has nothing to do with business, but it was when I realized that when I was a senior in college, my very last exam was Civil War history. I was a history major. I thought I had this whole thing locked. So for most of my second semester of senior year, I was basically drinking heavily in bars because I was 21. So I never went to class, and I'd figured out how to get a B in just about anything. So I showed up to the exam, Civil War history, and there wasn't a single question on that exam that I could answer. And I remember sitting there, and I thought to myself, I could pretend like I'm going out to use the bathroom. I could run I could run back to my dorm room. I could look in the book. I could get enough information to write this essay, and I can pass this, and I can be done. But for the rest of my life, I will know that I cheated to graduate from college. And I am not willing to know that for the rest of my life. So I took it. I got an F. I came up 1 credit short, had to tell my parents that I was, my parents came into town, and I had to tell them I was not graduating. That did not go over well. I had to spend all my money all my graduation money I had to spend on summer school. But the funny thing is, if I had cheated, I wouldn't be talking to you all today, because I wouldn't have ended up where I ended up. I would have moved home. Everything would have been different in my life in that moment from that decision. But I look back on that note and I know that I have never once ever sacrificed my integrity for a paycheck or for any type of a reward, because the instant that's why I would never cheat on my wife. I would never, steal money from people, all that, because the instant you do that, that part of you is gone forever and you can never get it back. Sure, there's redemption and all that other stuff, but in the end, you can never get it back, and it's just not worth it.
It's not. I remember that there's a Pink Floyd song after Roger Waters left the band, and it's called A Momentary Lapse of Reason. One slip and down the hall you fall.
Yep.
Right? Just exactly what you're talking about. And and I would, before this happened with this client, I would process it by talking about it with my wife, and my wife would say, you know what to do.
I can see Elaine telling you that. It's like, Dean, you just know what to do. Stop. Just stop.
But she's great. She goes, but you need to get this out.
Yeah.
You need to get this out. Because I wanted it to work for the client.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, not
got to work for everybody.
Work.
Yeah. Well, good for you, Dean. Plus, it just feels good to fire a client every once in a while. There's nothing like giving somebody a refund when they're doing something they shouldn't and saying, you know what, I can't help you. Here's your money back.
Yeah.
And then you give them the web address of somebody you don't like and tell them, hey, they can probably help you.
I wouldn't even do that, knowing that.
I'm kidding. That was a Mr. Pickles thing. Okay.
So, and then you give them the website of your arch enemy.
It's better to tell you like that.
Yeah, that's a good bedtime story.
There you go. I don't know how sweet your dreams would be of Mr. Pickles telling you a story right before bed.
Have to be sweet.
Yeah.
It's drama.
So there I was in the canned food section, and the people were coming towards me. But I said, oh no, you're not taking this pickle, baby.
So you hit at the bottom of the barrel.
I hit at the bottom of the barrel.
All the other pickles.
They were all gone and chomped. All right, you got one more question for me, and then it looks like we got a question or two in here, at least one.
Let's take the questions, unless there's something in your mind that you'd like to answer or share.
There is one thing. The thing about
I knew you would have something.
Well, this is important because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that you should always give credit where credit is due. Wow. And a lot of people don't do that. They learn something and then they think that they will somehow be diminished by sharing what the original source of the knowledge was. And so they end up either not sharing it, or they invent some bastardized version of it that they can then claim as their own or something. Mm-hmm. And it's not cool. One of the best people I see at doing it the right way is Russell Brunson. He always gives credit where credit is due in his books, from stage and everything. And I really admire that. So one of the best pieces of advice that I have ever received, and at the time it caused a tectonic shift in my own marketing, was I was at a conference in Boulder, Colorado in February of 2001. I was standing in the lobby. I had just listened to a guy speak on copywriting. His name was Marlon Sanders. His name is Marlon Sanders. Marlon's still with us, you know. And Marlon is a real character. If you don't know who Marlon Sanders is, it's Marlon, Marlon Sanders. You should look him up. And he told me something. We were just talking about an offer and stuff, and he's got this really great way of talking. He's like, Jim, here's what you do. You take your competitor's USP and you give it away as a free bonus with your product. And if the heavens would have opened, he's the big tall guy standing there drinking tea, Lipton tea. I'll never forget the tea bag, Lipton tea bag tag hanging out. He's drinking his tea, and he told me that, and it changed my life when he told me that, because I had been losing out on other people were saying, hey, you know, I bought this, so I don't have the money for your thing, or I need this before I need your thing, and all this other stuff. I was like, holy crap. And so instantly I took I sold a mortgage program, and people were buying software and stuff instead of my thing. So I went and found software, licensed it, and started offering as a free bonus to my stuff, and my sales shot up 50% instantly. And I've used that so many other times where I look at what somebody else is selling, and it's like, I'll just take their unique selling proposition. I mean, I don't take their product or anything like that, but I take the unique selling proposition and offer it as a free bonus, and you just crush their soul and you get all the customers. And that just has always stood out to me. Like there's just little things. They're not little, but you remember them, and you kind of even know in the moment or don't know in the moment that it's going to be that, because I actually had the opportunity to interview Jay Abraham one time because of my newspaper column. I don't remember anything he said, except he told me, I'll never sell cheap stuff, because it costs just as much to sell somebody a high ticket item or it takes just as much effort to sell a high ticket item as it does to sell something cheap. So why not sell something for a lot of money? And that was, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. So there are certain things that you always remember. You know, I remember meeting Yannick Silver at that same conference, and that changed my life. I remember somebody saying to me, one of my customers said, you know, I love your book, but I'd love to watch the video. I said, what do you mean? We don't have a video. He said, exactly. Make a video series out of your book and I'll buy it. And I bet a bunch of other people would. And that was like, boom. And I've made more money off the videos of books and creating videos and courses and stuff than I ever have off the books. The books are the front of the funnel, but the real money's in the videos on the back end. Mm-hmm. I mean, just little stuff like that I'm super grateful for, that you just need to be open to hearing and receiving and acting on, which most people don't act on a good idea.
Right. I mean, all the things that Jim and I talk about, it's all iterations and borrowed from things that we've learned by standing on the shoulders of of giants, really. And we just create our own, we infuse our own personality and our own take with it, our own voice. I mean, that's the key. You know, you take what's already proven, it's already done. You borrow it, as Russell would say, you know, you hack it. Hack it's not stealing. It's looking at the model in the framework of what is working and adapting it to you, your voice, your style, your personality, your marketing, your messaging, because that's what's going to attract an audience to you.
Absolutely.
Not just the pure salesmanship of it. That's a short life right there. It's got a short life.
And you know, speaking of short life, life is short. That's something else that's kind of come to me this year, is that I'm closer to 100. I'm closer to 100 than I am to the day I was born. Man, that scares the crap out of me. I'm closer to 80 than to 20. That sucks. Life's going too fast.
I'm ahead of you, Jim.
I know.
It's great. I love getting older.
Okay, good.
I love it.
Somebody should.
Better.
There you go.
There, Paul Straw says Russell's $250,000 iPhone. Exactly. What's the perceived value? Exactly. How do you take an iPhone that's $1,000 and make it worth $250 or $1 million? It's the value you incorporate in.
It's how you express the value.
Mm-hmm.
So Javier says, Javier. Hey guys, love this session. One quick question. Would you say there is an actual difference on how buyers from different parts of the world interact with a well-structured, assembled copywriting? Maybe it has something to do with language or behavior.
Yes, I think it's when you're talking sales message, you have to look at the sensibilities of the culture, because certainly even in the United States, if you're from the Southeast, The Southern culture is very different than the Midwest, and especially different from California, Oregon, and Washington, the West Coast.
Or up north.
Humor is different. The phrasing is different. What people relate to is different. So Javier, it's a great question. You have to be aware, and I'm sure Javier, South American, Latin America, even I'm sure there's a lot of differences between Argentina. You've got the nuances between Argentina and Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay. So you've got to be very aware of your audience, how they talk, what their preferences are, what they like, and how they communicate. So when my wife has clients, when she does counseling sessions with clients, she always says, before I speak to them, I need to find out what their currency is, so I can have an equal exchange. If I don't know how they speak, if I don't know what their desires are, their pains, their challenges are, which is their currency, how on earth am I going to be able to relate to them? How on earth, with any advice or suggestions I give them, am I going to be able to get through or tell us to get through to them if I'm not on a level playing field and know how they best like to communicate? What are their preferences and what are their desires? There was a great scene in, did you ever read the book, The Physician by Noah Gordon? Oh, it's great. It's a great book. It takes place in the Middle Ages, and it's about this kid who becomes this apprentice to a physician, and he goes from what we think is England to the Middle East, and he's learning how to treat patients. And there's a guy who doesn't know, he won't eat. He just won't eat. So here's a guy from England in the Middle Ages trying to treat people with the sensibilities of more of a Western way of doing things, and he won't eat. And then the physician who's teaching him at the time, who's Israeli, says, well, there's a reason he won't eat. You're trying to feed him foods that he's not used to, he doesn't like. You got to give him figs and milk. That's what he's going to eat.
Okay.
A big light bulb, something as simple as that. That's the currency.
So that I would add something to what Dean said. If you think what Dean said right here, and then if you think, which is absolutely 100% spot on, if you think one level lower, like motivation, basic human motivation that goes beyond language or phrasing or culture, no matter what culture you're in, especially if you're selling stuff on the internet, if you go back to basic human motivation, most human beings want to take care of their families. They want to actualize themselves. They want to do better, have more, be more, do more, help others.
Be validated, want to be loved, want to be recognized.
Right.
Right. Want to know, care.
Right. So if you had a copy of Copywriting Secrets, which, by the way, you can get a free copy at copywritingsecrets.com, just pay a small shipping and handling. If you were to turn to page 16, we do list off the main reasons why people buy. And I'm pretty sure that these, in most cultures, not every, but most cultures that we would be dealing with, if I were to say that there's a high likelihood that regardless of language, those people would want to know how to make money, save time, avoid effort, escape mental or physical pain, get more comfort, achieve greater cleanliness or hygiene to attain better health, gain praise, feel more loved, and increase their popularity or social status, regardless of what language they speak, I would bet you that those would apply and would be an underlying motivation that you would then need to understand the phraseology and local stuff that applies.
And Javier, one of the best ways to convey all of that stuff, all those desires and emotional triggers that Jim just described, is through story.
Yeah.
It's the best way. Look at the reason you're watching Netflix and you binge watch Amazon Prime, or you go to the movies, or you read a book, a piece of fiction. Look at any religious text, whether it's the Bible or the Torah or the Bhagavad Gita or the Tao Te Ching or whatever it is. It's all
the book of Jim.
The book of Jim. That's
the book of Dean. The Tao Te Dean in the Book of Jim.
Yeah. So that's why those books have endured for millennia, is because they're stories that the entire planet can relate to.
Right. And if you want proof of that, you can look at cave drawings. All of us can look at cave drawings and know that that dude was telling a story about a mammoth stampede, about, it just, all these things. You can look at the pictures and understand the story, and understand what's made a good story has made a good story since people started sitting around campfires telling stories in whatever language they were doing.
The Caves of Lascaux. That's what this book is fantastic for story and belief. And have you read this, Jim?
I've read parts of it.
With Joseph Campbell. This series is great. I mean, this is the guy who's responsible for Star Wars. I mean, this is what inspired The Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell, inspired Star Wars. It's directly taken from this.
Yeah. And that he's the one that he was the first one to isolate the hero's journey in a circular format.
That's right.
So you want to do one more? Sunny had a good question. She says, I have a question. Do you have any quick advice on language for a B2B business sales letter? I'll take one. My opinion is that B2B and B2C is actually BS. It's B2P. There's a person on the other end of that line. There's a person on the other end of that sales message. And ultimately their motivation doesn't change. Their fears and stuff might be related to losing their job or keeping their job or status within the organization, but ultimately human behavior drives what's going on in a B2B situation. It just happens to be you're at work instead of at home. So think about not selling to a business, but you're selling to a person. With that said, there are certain lexicons, words, phrases that are applicable to to individual businesses, individual niches, individual industries that you should and could use to prove that you understand them, but it's still basic human motivation and stuff that needs to be taken into account. What is your thought on that, Dean?
Well, you said something. One, need to know that business is currency. And two, whenever you write any sales letter or sales message, you're writing to one person. It's got to be personal. And just because you're writing to a business does not mean that you're writing it like a white paper, right, or a research paper, or you have to use all this fancy jargon. That will kill it. It will kill it. You want to talk to people on a 5th grade level, no matter who they are. Because if you look at any great communicator, from any world leader, they're talking so the people and the masses can understand them.
Quickly.
And what's that?
Quickly. It's not that people are stupid. You want them to not have to think to receive the message.
Absolutely. Anytime somebody has to stop to think, you've lost them. Yeah. Because when they're stopping to think of what you just said, they're still talking and you're not paying attention to what they're saying. So you want to keep them at every step of the way.
Yeah. 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 That's exactly right. You're exactly right. So hope that helps, Sonny. Here's one real quick and then we'll wrap it up. This was talking about knowing their currency, their words and stuff. Soda versus pop versus cola versus Coke is an interesting one, depending on where you travel. It's absolutely right. Dean, you're originally from New England, right?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, so
soda.
You know what a bubbla is? A bubbla?
I know what bubbla tea is.
No, a bubbler. A bubbler.
What is that?
It's a drinking fountain.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. We just call it
in certain parts of New England or somewhere up there, they don't call it they call it a bubbla. Do you know what a grinder is?
Yes, I do. That's a sandwich.
It's a sub sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
But I met a
New Jersey, and then they were heroes in New York or in Philly, right?
Yeah. So the answer is, oh, Paul's like water fountain. So that's a great example of, yes, you need to know the words that your
Right.
particular market uses, but then again, you also need to not overdo it so much that you isolate or you alienate other
Right.
people who aren't narrow focused on that.
And that's
So,
really important when using humor in copy, because that's a fine line. So you got to be a little careful with humor because it's very regional and you can easily offend people, and especially people might, if they don't get the joke or the humor, you've lost them.
done.
Flat, dud.
Yeah. Yeah. So the best type of humor from my experience is self-deprecating humor. So you're talking about yourself and making yourself the butt of the joke. And
Right.
when
I
that
can't believe I did this. I was such a goofball. I
right.
can't believe I was adult when I
Yeah.
did this.
Adult. I never wanted to be adult. When I turned 21, I just decided I wasn't going to be adult.
It still happens to me. And I don't think it's gonna stop.
So I hope none of you are adults either. All right, this was fun. This was totally unplanned, but we talked about copy as men do. And this was good. This was a little bit of therapy, a little bit of comedy, a little bit of fun. Did you all enjoy this? Was this fun? Was this a good break? Was this worth you spending what 46 minutes and 30 seconds of your lives with us? That's an interesting question to ask. Is the last 46 minutes and 37 seconds that I spent with these guys that I will never get back, do you feel like it was worth the time?
Was there
Just be
value?
curious.
Did you get something out of this?
Yeah. And Donna says yes. So that's good, but she's probably answering a different question. But Sunny Sunny kicks in. Yeah, it's a great episode.
Javier.
So, Javier says, yeah. So cool. All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful day. We enjoyed having you in to Jim and Dean's workshop. Always fun. Dean, great job, man. This was good.
Yeah.
And we will talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.